Afternoon and welcome. My name is Matt Rischpater. I am an assistant professor here at FLCC and I oversee the architecture program. Additionally, I am a licensed architect. So my understanding is with you watching this video, you're interested in architecture as a profession and thinking about FLCC for your education, or at least part of it. And so first off, I think we should talk about why you might choose FLCC beyond the cost savings and those kinds of things that you've already talked about and the benefits of a smaller college. But additionally, there's some requirements to go into the profession of architecture. And typically, it is a 5-year professional degree that you'd be looking for. And before you can even apply to a school, you first have to put together a portfolio of 12 to 24 of your best works of art. We don't require that. And in fact, for those of you who are seniors coming up towards December, realizing, oh, I'm going to have this portfolio of work and I don't know where to start, we can help with that. If you consider transferring from our program to another program, we'll help you get your portfolio together. We have a lot of experience with that. So that's one great place to start. Additionally, if you're thinking about going on to a 5-year program, one very close to us is Alfred State. They have a 5-year accredited program, and we're working on an articulation agreement, which will allow you to go seamlessly from 2 years at FLCC to the remainder of the 3 years at Alfred and end up with a 5-year degree. We're one of the only community colleges that can offer that. And so there's another great reason. Additionally, we have students who have gone forward to Syracuse University, of course, Alfred, Cornell, Columbia, the City College of New York, Penn State, a lot of great programs. So it can help you with that process. Additionally, you might be thinking, well, I'm not quite sure I want to get into architecture. And if I do, maybe I just want to work in the field for a little bit. We can help with that. So when you finish your first year, you should be capable of getting a job at an architectural firm drafting. That's the expectation. And the goal that we have is to serve both of those communities equally. Additionally, if you have a 2-year degree and you stay in New York State, you can get licensed with just a 2-year degree. So we can help you with that process and help you better understand the intricacies of that process. But altogether, if you go from a 5-year program or a 2-year program for ultimate licensure, it's going to take you about the same amount of time, between 8 to 10 years. So there's reasons to go different paths, and we can talk about those independently later. And then lastly, one of the best reasons I think for an associate's degree in architecture is that it is a great liberal arts degree. You're going to learn about math, science, the arts, humanities, understand culture and people around you a little bit better. And at some point, you're probably going to own a building or at least a home, or be a part of the requirements for somebody who does own a building. And you can better understand the needs of that building so that you're maybe not taken advantage of, or overall just understand better how people live in this built environment that we create. And lastly, students who are considering other associated careers often go through an architecture program first to meet a lot of their requirements, including construction management, civil engineering, landscape, design, and architects, as well as structural design, mechanical design. We sort of encompass all of those into our program, and a lot of the classes that you would need for our program, you would also need for those programs. So now in the background, you should be seeing some various PowerPoints from our program. And so to talk a little bit about our curriculum, in the first year, we teach about architectural theory and get comfortable with pencil on paper. And that's going to include taking the idea of architecture as walls and floors and roofs and changing that to the idea of an ice cube versus an ice cube tray. As architects, we manipulate space, and we'll better talk about and understand the theory of spatial design and how we can affect people's senses and emotions through the manipulation of those various spaces that we create. And additionally, we will draft by hand. We'll do a lot of manual drafting, and that's really typical for a 5-year program as well, in that they will traditionally spend 2 full years drafting. So we allow that and encourage that through the whole program, but we start out with exclusive drafting in the first semester. And in the second semester, we shift over to the digital realm. The expectations that after the second semester, again, you can go out and find a job. So the first semester is going to deal with the built environment, understanding construction means and methods, how buildings go together, the parts and pieces, and an elective being a history class that starts from prehistory through the antiquities into the Industrial Revolution. And then the second semester, digital studios and history class. And this is a required history class of modern history. And here you can see some sketches of students' works. One of the requirements is to keep a sketchbook. Now, it's not about the quality of the work that you do. It's about that work helping you to better understand the buildings and what makes those buildings special in the place and the time in which they were created. So again, just referencing that idea of pencil on paper and how that can help you express your thoughts and emotions in forms. And we'll study forms and do free-form sculptures. And we'll take field trips to architecture firms. This is a little tower competition that we had at a local firm. And then we do fun things throughout the year, pumpkin carving contests and the like. In this next image are some second year students who were visiting a Frank Lloyd Wright house in Rochester, where I befriended the owner. And we now make that part of our program. And that building becomes the location, or the lot becomes the location for a final project. And then the second year goes to a design studio where we learn more about the legal aspects of architecture. And we take all the lessons we learned about history and the precedents, and then how to express your ideas graphically and bring them together with model making, three-dimensional and tangible models to take an idea, develop it, and then express it to a client. Additional field trips occur also. This is one to Buffalo, to the Martin House. And here's some student work. Now, we typically take projects from the idea phase into what we would call design development, where we start to make them real buildings. And then oftentimes that's where we stop, make sure we understand how they go together, and then move to the next project. So the first semester of the second year are smaller scale projects. We do some residential projects. Currently, we're doing an Apple store in a tight court space. And then as the semester goes on, projects get bigger. This is a final presentation of a student's work, and we meet in a large auditorium space, invite architects, academic professionals in to critique the students' works. And you might notice some of these models have very crisp lines, and many of these were made with our laser cutters. So we have access to 3D printers, laser cutters, CNC machines. And so the second year culminates in a large project that students spend about 2 months working on and really developing until they understand exactly how it goes together, and a large final presentation. And then traditionally, we then would move on to a field trip to New York City, spend some time looking at buildings that we studied earlier and just understanding what it's like to be in the urban fabric as an architect and experiencing it that way. So I hope this has been helpful in giving you an idea of what our program is about and how we run things at FLCC. Typical class size for a first year student is about 15 to 1 instructor. And second year is around 10 to 1. So we can offer a lot of personal time and help to customize your degree towards your future plans. So please, if you have any other questions, let me know. Again, my name is Matt Rischpater, and it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much, and have a great time looking at FLCC.